way to start is from wonderful Boquete, Panama. Having a latte here, and I know you guys are prepared to hear some political rant today. That's not what I got. I want to talk a little bit of sports. One of my favorite teams, the Dallas Cowboys. Love them or hate them, they're always in the news. I follow them for two reasons. I've been a Cowboys fan for a few years. My son actually played for the Dallas Cowboys. So I still follow them very, very closely. As you know, they had a bad loss to the Philadelphia Eagles over the weekend. And one of their stars, Micah Parsons, has now spoken out against his head coach, Mike McCarthy. Basically saying that, he doesn't actually support him and feels as though he doesn't put in nearly as much work as the players do. You know, in defense of coaches, they really do put a lot of work in. They don't put as much work on the field, but they spend many, many more hours devoted to football than even the players do. That's a bit unfair. I will say this about Parsons, though. He's an incredibly talented player. My son always called him a unicorn. You don't find many like him. Very talented. And he's entitled to his opinion. But he got one thing wrong here, and some of the analysts are ripping him for it. Basically, you understand what happens in a family. When you have a family, sometimes you disagree. But what happens in the family stays with the family. Anything that comes up in the house, you keep that shit in the house. You don't put it out on the streets. And Micah put it out on the streets. And that's tragic. The Cowboys are struggling, and the last thing they need is dissent in the locker room. And that's what they have. What does this mean for McCarthy? He's probably dead man walking. We're likely not to see him come back next year. That story's kind of already being written. And as for Parsons, he hasn't had his contract extended. He's one of the best players in the league. You would think that the Cowboys would get this done. But Jerry has a history of not always doing what seems to be obvious. At heart, he's a businessman, and he's going to make a good business decision. I hope it works out for Parsons and the Cowboys. So don't be too hard on Micah. I know it's tough for him right now and every player on that roster. At the end of the day, they're all competitors, and they really do want to win. And I think the same for McCarthy. The Cowboys, they are struggling. And the captain usually goes down with the ship and takes all the heat, all the responsibility for everything that happens. And remember, McCarthy doesn't play on the field. He doesn't go out there and make pre-snap mistakes. He doesn't blow coverages. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with him. So here's to a Cowboy recovery. I don't see it happening. Right now, they're not a very good football team, even though they have some very talented players. Political rant coming back, but right now, it's all about them boys. Later.